Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 312, the HRP podcast. I am joined today by
Alicia Washington, Principal Director of Marketing and JEDI at HRP Associates.
And
Nichole Petersen, Director of Marketing for Flowtech Inc.
And Alicia, why are we here today?
So we are here today to talk about SMPS, Society for Marketing Professional Services. And what we wanted to talk about today was actually the Chapter President of the Year Award submission application that each year our chapter here in Connecticut, SMPS Connecticut, we make sure that we complete that application for our president, the current president or the previous president of that year. And I believe it started in 1970. Oh, we'll be 40 years this year. So I think it was like 1972, maybe 1973. And it was back when it was actually illegal to market your company if it was a professional service company. So it was actually illegal to do that. So when that was actually made legal, there was this group of people. They were called the Bird Doggers. I think that's the name of them. It was the name of that group. It might have been, I feel like it was in either California, Texas, maybe somewhere over there where that group started. And that's really how it was formed. Like that's like the history of the organization, but really it's for professionals in architecture, engineering, and construction, marketing professionals.
Or be it business development professionals
and
as
business,
well.
Business development professionals. And really like one of the things that Connecticut's really pushing for is getting more of the technical professionals involved too, because all of the things that we talk about relative to marketing, communications, client experience, client relations, business development, all of that stuff, there's a component for technical professionals to do those. They have to do those things. They have to do shortlist interviews and write proposals and deal with clients. And there's a lot of resources and content that's developed through SMPS in all chapters. I think we're over 58 chapters maybe or something. I think we're
64.
Wow.
Yeah, there's 2 chapters in Canada now.
Oh my gosh. There's 2 now. Mm-hmm. So it's growing. Like the last time I looked at it was at like 58 or something. So there's tons of chapters in North America now, we can say, right, with Canada there too. And it comprises of mostly professionals in the AEC space that do marketing and business development. So yeah, that's SMPS. And I joined SMPS in I think the first time I joined was 2005. And then I got really heavily involved in 2012. How about you, Nichole? When did you join?
I joined in 2013 when I entered the industry.
Okay.
It was funny, like my second day, and my boss at the time, Rich Harper, said, okay, you need to do 2 things. You need to join PwC Connecticut, done, won an award.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you need to join SMPS Connecticut, done, and won another award.
So you're done.
Yeah.
Like completed all of those.
Well, I'm still going to be involved, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like mission accomplished.
Yeah. No, SMPS has been so great. So we wanted to talk about this today because I just recently submitted my application for Chapter President of the Year for 2020-2021. And my friend here, Nichole, is joining us today because she submitted the application for the year 2019-2020, and she won that year. Yes. So we were super excited, and we're so proud of Nichole. She did an amazing job, and obviously she won that award, and we're super happy for her. And we wanted to talk about kind of what this award actually means and, how we went about the application, how we put that together, and also how leading chapters, how that leading SMPS chapters, but also other organizations and the elements of this application that we had to complete, how it really ties into not just SMPS, but other organizations that me and Nichole do volunteer with, but also our current jobs and what we do at our firm. So Nichole, I wanted to start off with, putting the application together. I have some, rough moments in that, they definitely give us, 3 months to do it, but we don't really.
Yeah, we wait till the last minute.
Yeah, we wait till the last minute to do that. So, but how was that process for you, and what were some of the highlights of, kind of after looking at it, but when it was done, you were like, all right, I did a good job here. This was good.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I kind of had a little bit of a leg up because I had helped submit for the president before me, her application, Samantha Van Scoik, And I was able to get a debrief by the society about her application and like what they were looking for, what, didn't work after the judgment had gone through. And unfortunately, Samantha didn't win. So I took those notes and prepared for my year and my submission. And pretty much throughout my year, I just kept jotting down different things that I did or I accomplished that met the criteria of the submission application. So that way, when it was time for me to submit, I had my notes, I had stuff already prepared. I didn't have to like backtrack. But the best thing that I couldn't have asked for anything better was I had volunteers to help me with my submission. Other SMPS members who believed in my presidency, liked what I accomplished, and wanted to help me get recognition for this award. So I had 2 writers that helped me put together the editorial content of it. And then I also had a graphics designer help. It did get a little crazy at the end because my graphics person unfortunately had to back out because she had a death in the family.
Oh, no.
And I am not a graphics person. And I ended up designing it in PowerPoint.
There you go.
Wasn't the prettiest application, but the content was there and the proof of my accomplishments and success as president were there. So it's definitely stressful. But to your point about they give you 3 months. But, by the time you get everybody coordinated, you get your plan in action, and then you have to get letters of support. So it is a process, and we as marketers love to wait to the last minute.
Yeah, we do. As much as we try to act like we don't.
Yeah, I think we submitted my application on the day of the deadline.
Yeah, I actually asked for an extension. I was like, can I get, because I was actually at CLS presenting.
Oh, yeah, you definitely needed an extension.
So that kind of helped me, I think, too. I was like, so I'm at CLS presenting right now. Can I get an extension? She was like, oh, yes, I know that you're there, and we'll give you more time. So they actually did give me like another few days actually over the weekend.
Oh, that's nice.
And that was good. So yeah, no, putting it together was I think it was smart for you to like jot down, making sure that you were kind of identifying all those things that you did or all those accomplishments throughout the year. Because when I would sit down and think about, and I did kind of pull things together, I put things in folders, I saved emails, like I screenshot a lot of things on the websites or even like programs we did because my year was completely virtual because it was during COVID. I still kept remembering things like while I was writing the application. And I was just like, oh man, well, where should that go? Like what section should that go in? And how do I expand on that? And I did have a graphic designer. I had Lindsay Matthew actually help
she's
design
amazing.
it. And so that was super helpful because I was just like, I can't do graphic design. Like I try and it just... I just spend too much time on it. Like it could look okay, but like I spend too much time looking at it, and I'm like, I can't do this. It's too stressful.
Totally agree.
That's the curse of being on the creative side, right? Is you always can see how it can be better, and you never have enough time.
Yes, you can't put it down.
Completely open ended.
Right.
Absolutely. So, for the application, there were 5 sections, elements: leadership, chapter management, society awareness, membership, and programming and events. For you, Nichole, which one do you think that you felt like, I got this one. This is the one that I have more than enough content for and can really like speak to. Which one was most easiest for you, you think?
I would say the membership. And luckily, we had a good year where we retained a lot of members. We didn't really lose a lot of members. We kept our large chapter status. But, I mean, this is going to sound weird for me to say, but I think the pandemic helped me because it was this crisis situation that the whole world was in. And I was just like, well, you know what? I could sit here and be like, oh, this is so hard. Or we can do something. So together with the board and everything, we decided to make free programming for the rest of the year for members and non-members alike to help alleviate stress. I put together like a little meme Monday thing to try to bring joy and just like have people some light in this dark tunnel that we were all in. And my goal was just to try to make SMPS a place where people could have some relief and just kind of pretend like the craziness of the world wasn't going on around us. So I think with the membership, it was easy for me because I really connected with the members, and I made a point throughout my presidency to reach out to the new members and just check in with people and just try to really feel like what people needed and provide them with what they were looking for. And I believe that I was really successful in that.
Yeah, you were. It was great. And especially when we did the the awards, because we had the awards that year, and we did the drive-by.
Yes, the drive-by parades.
Which were great because that was like a thing, during COVID. For birthday parties and celebrations, you would just decorate the cars and drive by, and that was really cool. That was fun to do, and everyone really appreciated that too. So, no, I thought you did great with membership. I thought you did great with everything, which is why you won, right? So that was great. Yeah, I think for me, putting together, I think chapter management, there were a few where I felt like I had a lot of content to put
definitely
in
with you with chapter management, because you called some of the processes and protocol for committees and different things.
Yeah, I really I just wanted to change the way that some of the areas where I feel like we've been doing the same thing for 40 years, like that's the chapter's 40 years old this year, and society awareness too. So since my year was during the pandemic, I agree that it did benefit me in a way, because I was really able to expand society awareness, bringing in more speakers from all over the country because everything was virtual.
Yeah, we didn't have to pay for speakers to fly in.
We didn't have to pay. Yep. So we were able to maintain our expenses were very little, but we made money, during the year, because we did charge for certain things, and we had more non-member participation than we have had in a long time, because we were just able to reach more people. We were able to reach more areas too. So I think that the society awareness and kind of, making more, policies and procedures more robust, more diverse, right? Like more equitable, was a big thing during my year. And so I'm hopeful that those things stick, like I would love to win chapter president of the year, but really all the things that you did, Sam did, and that what Marta's doing right now, what I did, like all of these things, I just want them to stick, to stay. And so I see that, we actually just had our DEI task force call at 11 today. And, we were talking a lot about how do we sustain the things that we're trying to do. And when it comes to talking, DEI stuff, we're really just trying to get people to, be more vulnerable. Talking about things that affect them every day in the workplace or outside of the workplace. But since we're here more than we're anywhere else a lot of times, how can we, make these areas, whether it's in committees for SMPS or at work, where people are just, being more vulnerable, talking about things that, can change their environment, change the world, So we're hopeful that everything that we've done, I think within the last 5 years of SMPS Connecticut, will sustain and continue on. I feel confident that they will, but it's going to take a lot of work.
It definitely will. And I was actually speaking with, my year was a special year for winning chapter president of the year, because I was actually won it with somebody else.
Yes.
It was the first time.
Yes.
It was the first time in history that had ever happened. And her name is Kat DiMercurio, and she's from the New York chapter. And oddly enough, her and I, and the other Boston chapter and Northern New England, we would get together for virtual happy hour drinks and be like, what's going on? So anyways, her and I have discussed this, and it's not that you want to commit to a 2-year term, but you almost wish you had more time, because you work so hard through pretty much when you're PE through your presidency, and then you want all this stuff and all these initiatives that you've been working so hard to continue. Mm-hmm. And you want to see it through, but then you ultimately turn it over to somebody else, and hopefully there's that synergy there. There's that strategic plan where you're all on the same board and you can keep the flow going. But there's some things that don't continue, and then there's some things that come up or even better, and then take it to the next level.
Yep.
But I feel like with your presidency, the thing that amazed me was you made a lot of important changes and brought awareness at the chapter level, but you also were involved at the national level too, with helping them form their DEI task force and their initiatives, which is humongous. Not only were you running our chapter, but you were helping run at the national level too.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And at that moment too, there was that need was there. And I think that I was definitely recognized as a resource for a lot of DEI stuff. It really just kind of happened overnight too. It was crazy. honestly. Like as I got more into it and started finding more opportunities, that's kind of how it kind of happened for me. And people were just coming to me with tons of questions and just insight and stuff, which was awesome. Like it was such an amazing experience. So there was something that you mentioned that I wanted to actually go back to, but it just left me. So let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about leadership and how it kind of ties in with your role at Flowtech too. Like, you know, with being president and obviously that commitment, you know, how was it managing the chapter, leading the chapter, and doing your day-to-day job?
Well, you know how that goes. It's you get 2 full-time jobs pretty much, and you're only getting paid for one.
Yep.
But honestly, leading at the chapter, it just made me so much more confident, and I'm just like, I got this. Especially with the pandemic, I'm like, okay, it happens. Let's figure out how to like work with this and move on. And you know, SMPS's whole tagline is pivot and focus, but that's really what it was. And what I learned and the support that I got at the chapter level helped me with Flowtech, and I was able to learn Zoom through SMPS and bring it to Flowtech and be the supports person at Flowtech that helped. And some of the aspects of leading the chapter during the pandemic with SMPS, I translated over into Flowtech and did like virtual happy hours and trivia games just so we could still stay all connected. Yeah. And it's really true that volunteering at any level in an organization really helps you develop your professional skills as well as your soft skills, and just makes you a better professional and a better person, I feel, because you're getting that diversity of working not just with your company, but working with other groups that think differently, that are from different companies, different cultures. And it just really it opened my eyes and just said that, you know, there's not one way of doing things. Everybody's got a different perspective. And I'm really happy for that experience. And I feel like I'm a better employee to Flowtech now. Or actually employee owner. We're 100% employee owned now. But it just makes me better at my job all around. And the balancing act, so Flowtech came first. I mean, maybe not on a program day. Flowtech didn't come first. But so the stuff that didn't happen had to happen, you know, at nighttime or on the weekends. And I know I'm thankful that I had a support system. My husband and my parents and mother-in-law helped with the kids or the kid at the time. So, but how about you? I mean, I feel like you had so much going on, and, you know, like we said, not just at the society level, HRP, but also with national. Yeah. So it's like you didn't sleep for a year.
Yeah, it felt that way. It felt that way. I think it was a lot of long days, and especially during the pandemic, it felt like work was so much longer.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You know, for HRP, since we're an environmental consulting firm, the pandemic actually opened up a whole new market for us relative to emergency planning and response planning, and helping a lot of our manufacturing clients get back to work, like get back on the line. And they wanted to be able to get back, you know, working, but make sure that their facilities were safe for all of their workers. So we developed, you know, health and safety plans around, like, you know, making sure that people, you know, how do you work with, you know, being 6 feet apart, or cleaning, you know, mechanisms, things like that, like how to keep the area clean. We were selling test kits and things like that. So we were having conference calls at 9 p.m. at night. Like it was crazy. And it was like that for like 4 or 5 months, all during the presidency as well too. So it really is, you know, where they say it takes a village. It really does. Like everyone was kind of on board, whether they liked it or not, right? You know, like my husband was, you know, very supportive, but, you know, I could see in his face he was just tired too. But, you know, you understand that, like, this is for such a good cause. Like all of this is to really, you know, help us in this room and everyone else, our community, our industry. And so I agree that, you know, by volunteering, it really does open your eyes to like what other firms are doing, how we can make our marketing experiences better, developing more content, more ideas. And one of the things I love about SMPS is that there's so many of us who are competitors, but we just don't look at each other that way.
Right.
And I found that a lot of firms will say that, oh, well, I don't want my marketers going to SMPS events because they're going to get poached, right?
Yes, yep.
And I remember
I didn't know that was a thing until this year.
Yeah.
Actually.
Well, what's funny is that I remember hearing that, like, you know, I've been in SMPS for almost 20 years. So maybe 10 years ago, I think I remember hearing that. And it was, I just forgot about that, you know, because I don't look at SMPS that way. But when I went to CLS and I had, you know, all the chapter president-elects there, that was a thing in a lot of other parts of the country. And I'm just like, wow, that's amazing that people still look at SMPS that way.
Well, what I have to say to that is maybe the firm should look at themselves and
That's
learn how
what
to
everyone
keep
was
your
saying.
employees.
A lot of responses were that people were like, well, if you have an issue with thinking that your team's going to get poached, that means something about how you're running your business or running your marketing department. I remembered what I wanted to ask you.
Okay, nice. I love when that happens.
So when you were talking about being president and how, you know, you're president for 1 year, we don't want to sign on for a 2 year. Like that's definite.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that we did great in Connecticut was we created that like trinity.
Yes.
Where like now, and I brought that into, you know, with Marta and Julia, and they're going to continue it where the, how's it go? President-elect, president, and immediate past president, they meet every month. And they talk about, okay, how things are going, talk about strategic planning. They talk about kind of where are we, how are we going to continue these things? What are the things that we need to change? What are the things that we need to drop off? Or really just like a venting session too. There's a lot of that. Like those meetings usually go longer than an hour. I know Marta and Julia will laugh when they hear that, but like we just keep going and going. And we always say we could talk forever because there are a lot of things that we run into and we care so much about the chapter, right? And we care so much about the changes we want to make. And so a lot of that conversation happens once a month. But I think that that's the way that we can keep the sustainability. Like that's how we make it happen, which making sure that even though the next president might not agree with everything, but there is that one thing that we can keep going.
Continuity.
I
can't say that.
Yes. Like I think having that meeting every month is so important. So I actually said that at CLS. I told all the chapter president-elects, I'm like, do that. Make sure you do that. You know, set that up now. So that way it's just part of how the chapter runs.
Yeah. And I think one thing that Sam Van Scoik, you know, so everybody knows, she was the president before me. She was 2018 to 2019.
And she's amazing.
She was, I think, one of the first in recent SMPS Connecticut history to do the 3-year strategic plan.
Yes.
Every year we traditionally had a strategic planning retreat, but it wasn't like we wrote down an actual strategic plan. And she was the first year to do that. She was. Which made it really easy for me to just kind of step in. I knew what our goals were, I knew what our vision were, and just keep it running. And that translates into FlowTech as well, because I really want a strategic plan. This was the first year that I actually did a marketing plan. I was so proud of myself. It's like very bare bones, but it was something that I never was required to do, nor did I have the guts to do. But after going through this and like developing these skills, and the Markendium for SMPS has like a whole CPSM program for those that you don't know, become a certified professional marketer. Well, I started reading those books, and it really helps you lay it out, and it really helps you stay focused. And going back to your meetings once a month and having that succession planning, I think we can learn a lot in our firms from the way that that's modeled.
Right. Agreed. Definitely. So I want to talk a little bit about other organizations. So you actually just won another award.
Yes, I did.
Right, for Professional Women in Construction, the Connecticut chapter. Tell us about that.
So I won Volunteer of the Year, and the Professional Women in Construction is another amazing organization. They try to bring to light, you know, women in the industry as well as the underrepresented in the industry, and help support them and bring them up through the ranks through mentorship and scholarship. And I volunteer on the communications committee. I used to be the communications chair, and I had to step down for, I just had too much going on, but I'm still active on helping with the website, and I'm starting like a kind of a little mini blog. It's like their new section. So I'm starting to develop content for that. And because of my dedication and the work that I've done with the organization, they awarded me the Volunteer of the Year award, which is awesome. Amazing. And the kind of the joke, I think, in the industry for people that know me is like, oh, you're involved in that too. Yeah. But honestly, like I don't want to be like a billboard for volunteering, but it really helped build my brand. And while I'm building my personal brand, I am amplifying Flowtech's brand.
That's right.
Because every time I win an award, Flowtech's name is out there. And then everybody's like, Flowtech's got some good employees, or Flowtech's doing something right. Maybe we should work with them, type of thing. But just volunteering on these organizations, it helps fill the holes. Like if you want experience in a certain area, but maybe you don't have enough, skills to do it at your firm, why not try it out in an organization and build some experience that way, whether it be communications or leadership or membership. I just think it's a great way to network and just build your brand and your professional development.
Yeah. And I think once you really get into it and you're doing more things, you realize that the benefit that it really does bring. And it's really easy for you to kind of sell it to your principals, the principals of your firm as well. And, we're really trying to do that with the SMPS Connecticut chapter. Is we want more volunteers, and we want volunteers to be, expanding on like the things that they're doing and being more vocal about, oh, well, I want to try this. I want to try that. I want to go into this group. So we're really trying to get more volunteers into the chapter, and also letting them see how important and beneficial it is to be a volunteer. One of the things that I've noticed for a long time, but I really tried to expand during my presidency and now moving forward, is really opening the gates more to just so many people who don't know about this profession, and the fact that so many people come into this profession not having gone to school for it or not even knowing what it was. And it just makes you realize that there's so many people who can do this work. There's so much opportunity in this field. And it really helps with diversifying the industry, being able to really pull people from anywhere, and educate them on, a marketing position in AEC. With the Connecticut chapter, we did quite a bit of presentations last year to schools, and we actually were talking about another presentation we have at the end of this month to sixth through eighth graders, which is super fun. We did this presentation last year, and luckily, at least fortunately for me, I'm the presenter, and it's in the city that I grew up in.
Oh, nice.
So I was able to bring in different landmarks within the city that I know either the kids live there or lived there. There's different things that were built that I know the kids could relate to, and you could just tie it back to like architecture, engineering, and construction. So looking forward to doing that again. But I think that SMPS is a great organization that anyone could join and learn about, how to market and creating content. And I just think it's an amazing organization.
Right, because these skills, even though we're geared towards marketing professional services, they really are transferable in any industry. You need to know how to write. You need to know how to present. You need to know social media. So it's a great, like to your point, Alicia, it's a great organization to join and just to learn. And I feel like we're open. Yeah. We're welcoming. We don't judge you based on your experience level or what your type of role. And even people who are looking to sell to the marketers, the vendors, the promotional items people, the different vendors for that sort of thing, we're open to them too, because they want to increase their business. And what is it? Business transformed through marketing leadership.
Yeah. That tagline, I love that tagline so much, because there are a lot of marketers who struggle with their value and how they're seen within their firm, because sometimes there are just firm leaders who are just like, nope, you just do this, you just do that, where marketing is just proposal writing or marketing is just this, and they really put you in a box. I know there's a lot of marketers who struggle with that, and with their leaders not really seeing that vision, because frankly, a lot of the principal owners, firms, a lot of the leaders in AEC are not business people. Like they're not, they are the technical person who decided one day, I'm going to start my own firm.
Right.
And that's how they built their own firm, off of their technical expertise, not their business or marketing mind.
Right.
But, not to say that a lot of them didn't learn along the way that, nope, marketing does matter, because there are a lot of those too who they realize like, no, we do need marketing. We do need to do these things and became great marketers as technical professionals once as they were. But, we want to bring in more technical professionals into SMPS because we work with them all the time on proposals or whatever, right? Videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're always working with them. And if they can see things through our eyes by participating more with SMPS, it will make our relationship better. And that's a DEI thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
About relationships and communication and stuff. If we can come together and participate and go to this event and you meet other marketers or learn the things that we learn that we're pretty well versed at because that's our technical expertise is marketing, it really will make our relationship stronger with those technical professionals. So it's just another angle that I think more chapters should be focused on because that's our day-to-day.
Yeah, definitely. And you need to learn to speak the other one's language.
Mm-hmm.
And walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, and you can have an appreciation for what it is that the other person does on a daily basis.
Yeah. I think one of the things from a DEI perspective here at HRP that we're doing is thinking about the communication between technical staff and administrative staff, and even within the administrative lines, the corporate services of accounting, IT, HR, marketing, and so forth. We realize that if everyone understands the business goals of the company, we can communicate so much better. There could be so much more benefit from how we communicate with each other, how we give and get from each other, if everyone understands the business goals of the company. And what I realize is that from a corporate standpoint, all those different departments, accounting, IT, marketing, and so forth, HR, sometimes people don't feel like they belong in certain conversations. Like accounting is like, oh, we only talk about money. Or HR is like, oh, we only talk about employees. And marketing is like, oh, no, we can all be part of the conversation relative to the business goals of the company. And so you have that, right, a challenge of getting people on the same page. And then you have the whole technical part of the company, right? It's like a whole other part of the company. And no one's, seeing eye to eye there because there's always going to be those administrative demands on the technical staff, timesheets and proposals and stuff like that. And then we don't experience what they're going through relative to client demands and schedule changes and project demands and change orders and all these things that are affecting them. And they have 5 of them happening at one time, right. So relative to DEI, bringing people together to be vulnerable in those conversations where it's like, well, this is what I deal with every day. And I know that my manager wants me to do this. And I know that you guys want me to have this, but I'm having trouble managing all of these things. Like, no one's saying that. No one in a company is going to say that they're having trouble managing their job as a project manager, right? But man, if you can create that space where people can be like, I'm having this challenge and I need help, and for them to be like, I'll help you. I mean, that's great. It just gives me goosebumps, right? Because it just changes the dynamic in your workplace to be able to have those conversations. So I know I'm talking specifically HRP, but you can do those things in SMPS or other organizations, like how many committees do we have where we have a chair who's completely overworked and burnt out? You have committee members who aren't doing anything. They're not even attending meetings. You have committee members who are doing too much, like if you can create these spaces within just your committee about how to talk about the things that you're having trouble with, or be honest about why you're here, be honest about why you haven't done anything, then you could really break down to, okay, this is how we can be successful and trust each other. So, I want to bring that everywhere I go.
Yeah. I mean, why not talk about it? Holding it inside is not helping anybody.
That never
it's going
helps.
to cause more problems.
That's right. That's right.
And I think when you talk about it, not that you're looking for advice or guidance, but there might be a spark that someone who, from the outside perspective, can see a solution.
Right.
That you're just too stuck in it that you can't see.
Right.
So
Right.
it's always helpful to get a different opinion or
It is.
talk about something that's on your mind.
Yeah. And one thing I noticed too, being part of SMPS for so long, I've created so many groups of friends, I've created so many friends, but there are different groups of friends because it's based on the different generations of the chapter.
That's true.
Right.
Yes.
And I know Nichole understands what I'm saying. Like, there's different generations, different decades of individuals who work together so long that they're like tight. And so I find myself in different groups where like those individuals, there's group texts and there's emails that where they're looking for, 2 cents or, hey, have you guys seen this? Or what do you think of this? And so they're all separate, but like we created those spaces because we trust one another. We value one another's opinion. And that's so important, to have that. And I don't mind that they're all different or whatever, but if we can create more of those, bigger, with more members and more people seeing that, oh, well, this is a value. I created these. And a lot of people say, when they're talking about SMPS specifically, they'll be like, I created lifelong friends here, and that's very true. But this next generation that's coming in, I know we want them to feel that way too. We want them to know that that's there. And one of the great things that Connecticut chapter is doing right now is we have this new onboarding process where like any new member, you get onboarded. We do these coffee meetups now that Marta started, which are so fun.
Yeah, I love the coffee meetups.
I know,
yep.
Right? So you kind of like talk to a new member. You built that relationship and that talk, and then you onboard them. They get an advisor now, so the person checks in with them to make sure did you join a committee? Do you have any questions? Did you go to this event? You want to go together? So it really kind of makes that new person feel like, no, this is good. I feel comfortable here, because in any space, people walk into a new space, they're kind of like, oh, I don't know anyone. Like, what do I do? So I think that that's really great that we're starting that process, because we want to grow the chapter. We want more members, and we want to make sure that people feel comfortable, when they come in.
So thinking of specific examples or instances from your experiences in SMPS, can you tell me how you brought those or successfully incorporated them into your companies?
The thing that jumps out at me was the first time I went to a regional conference. I believe I went to the regional conference before I went to the national conference, but it was the same year. And the content that was produced, all of it, I was just so excited about bringing it back to the company. And I remember being upset that I hadn't attended a regional conference before that, because it was so good. The content was so relevant to the changes we were making here or the things that we wanted to do. I got so many ideas. I felt so like just inspired and just ready to go. And it's specific to SMPS because it was all about the things that I do as a manager, as a director. It was all things tied into what I do here. And that was, I think you get so much out of, we do such a good job with conferences, whether it's regional or national. And what's unfortunate is that not everyone gets to go to them. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate because the content there is amazing. Now, our programs that we do, our chapter programs are great too, but they're, the conferences are more high level. These speakers cost more money, and they really do deliver some great content and great takeaways. So I want to say that that's definitely one thing that I realized, that I remember, that I was able to bring back and really get more people here inspired and change some ways that we were doing things marketing wise here.
Yeah, and kind of building off that, specific to, like, I have a really good example of some content that I learned there that I brought back. And this may sound silly, but it saved a bunch of time, and now I know how to, like, work through this going forward. So I attended at the national level of SMPS. I attended this seminar. It was like creativity and like thinking, and I forget exactly what it was, but it was basically like one of the guys from Disney was there, and he was awesome. And he explained a great way to like eliminate different choices. So like, let's say, like for my example for Flowtech is every year we do this event called Flowtoberfest, and I develop a tagline for Flowtoberfest. So how do we just determine what the tagline is going to be each year? One year I crowdsourced it, and we had a bunch of people send in their recommendations. But then how do we get everybody at FlowTech to decide on one? So I implemented this presenter's strategy with FlowTech, and we had the tagline within 15 minutes. Whereas had we not had that in place, it would have taken us like an hour of deliberation to figure out. Oh, yes. So another great thing that I learned through SMPS that I've implemented, so I create the content for FlowTech's blog and obviously the social media posts. Back, 4 years ago, I say we did a GraceWorks like professional writing workshop, and the presenter was amazing, and she explains that everybody's brain functions differently and retains information differently. So when you're writing something, you really need to include a variety of elements, whether it be the traditional paragraph form, bullets, or like a list, like numbering, graphics, pictures. So that way you're constantly giving a reader of like who perceives information differently something that connects with them. And that really resonated with me in the writing. And then for people that I've helped over the years, like for personal matters, I've even suggested doing those things. And until you're told to do that, you don't always think to do that.
Right. And GraceWorks is great. They're excellent. And we bring them in almost every year with great content. That's a really good point too, especially if you're doing like a newsletter or even proposals, RFPs. We're actually looking to, update, refresh like the format of how we lay out our RFP responses to include more like different things.
Yeah,
just
variety
like
of
layouts and how a reader engages with what they're reading, especially readers who are judging, right? God only knows what they're even looking at.
Not necessarily what your personal greatest strengths were, but in the application, the way you laid it out, brought in your own creativity to it. Where do you think that paid the most dividends and made the strongest case? What was like the best part of the application that really you think effectively communicated what you wanted to talk about in it?
It's a great question. I would say it's funny because I thought my strongest section was membership, but I was smart about it because society, at the society level, headquarters has specific goals for what society does for membership. So I took each goal, made it a bullet point or like a header, and then I explained how I accomplished that goal for membership. So it really like touched every point that they wanted to see. I made sure that I like touched upon it. And then also part of the application process, they ask you to submit 3 letters of support. Could be from anybody in the industry. There's certain requirements, like one has to be a member, whatever. But I made sure that I asked each person specifically certain things that I wanted them to include in their letter. So that way each letter wasn't saying the same things about me. Each letter kind of provided a variety of support of my presidency, my leadership.
Yeah, no, that was super smart. Super smart. For me, I think it was more the layout. We included the video clips where Tom actually recorded me talking more about the leadership or more about society awareness and kind of having that personal, like real human feel to it instead of just reading it in words. Which that was actually Lindsay's idea, with again, having that help with the graphic designer or whatever. We also had like a theme name to it, which was Level Up, which was after having a conversation of, what is the theme, Alicia? Like what do you feel? How do you feel that the year was like? What with your vision and your leadership and it just popped in my head as I was saying a bunch of words. But I'm like, yes, I wanted everyone to level up. Like I wanted to move the chapter into a space where the world is going, when I think about like recruitment strategy and ways to get more members, that's going to be a challenge of getting people to think about who else could be in SMPS. And even with, I think it was during my year, or it was probably during your year, Nichole, but when we were having lots of meetings, the DEI task force are talking about expanding and creating our student program. I had members say, we had an intern here. You know what? She would be great. And she was there a year ago, but it did take people time to really connect, like, how can we make this work? And I think, and no fault to anyone, it's just the fact that we just think in a certain way. We're just in our ways, and we're like, no, I'm a marketer, I just do this. No one else could. That person went to school for that, like, and not really like, I didn't even go to school for marketing. Like, why, not connecting those dots. And I think just having more of those conversations is really what gets people to, the light bulb just goes off. Like every so often, the light bulb goes off. But, in terms of my application, definitely bringing in those elements of, change and no more with the status quo. We're making moves. We're trying to level up. I thought that, again, I just submitted it, so I don't know. It's probably not going to win, but at least that was the theme there that I felt strongly about, having the videos, having that personal touch, and really talking more about like what we did, what I did, and really hopefully where the chapter is going to go. Like just taking it and running with it. It's not going to stop because I'm no longer president. It's going to keep going, and I think visually saying that was probably helpful.
Yeah, and I think that I keep saying this. That was another benefit of being virtual, is we had a lot of video content. Like maybe we missed out on the traditional pictures of us at events. Yeah. But like with my submission as well, I had recordings of me addressing, our membership before a program or, during whatever. And it was a great piece of content to submit to prove like how we did it. And like, no one had a chance to just sit there. Everybody had to turn around fast and switch to a virtual platform and figure it out. And the chapters that didn't obviously weren't as successful as the chapters that did, but that's the same thing with the businesses. Every firm, every business, schools, everybody had to switch to a virtual platform. And I think illustrating that in my submission, that there was no downtime was also another asset to the whole package.
Yeah, that was great.
I think to close us out here, I'd like to know what piece of advice each of you would give to an incoming president and how to make the most of their tenure.
I don't know. Do we have another hour?
I have some good advice. Number one is that a good leader doesn't act in a silo. A good leader takes advice and guidance through a group. So really rely on your board members and your committee members to help make those tough decisions, and reach out to your network, whether it be other past presidents of SMPS or just people that you respect, or if you have any mentors, really just reach out and talk through things and get guidance and get different opinions, because one of the underlying themes of this podcast today was diversity. So it's great to get different perspectives for that. I also would say be kind to yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day. You're only one person. There's only 24 hours in a day and 7 days a week. So things aren't going to happen overnight. And lastly, my bit of advice would be make sure that you have a conversation with your firm or your employer before committing to becoming president, because it is a time commitment and you need to be honest and real with them. Lay out the benefits for what this is going to do for your career, as well as highlighting their firm. But I feel like if you're not truthful with the amount of time it's going to take, that could lead into some, not good situations. As well as talk to if you have a spouse.
Yes.
And make sure your spouse is on board too, because it is
babysitters.
It is a commitment. I don't want to end on a bad note, but it's a great experience. So enjoy it while you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially for SMPS, you have your president-elect and your president and your immediate past president. So you're really committing to like a 3-year term on the board. But, before you commit to being PE, you do have that whole year before you're actually president. And I agree with everything Nichole said, like do all of that. And also know what you want to do the year you're president, like know, and have it just be one thing, because you're going to get into it and you're going to realize I want to do everything. And there's new things are going to pop up, and you're really going to spread yourself too thin if you try to do everything. Really think about what's important to your chapter, what's important to you, what you're passionate about, because if you got the passion behind it, you're going to do great at it. Really pick what that's going to be. And, like Nichole said, work with your board, work with your network and the people ask questions, bounce ideas off of people, engage your membership, talk to as many members as you can. Just like, any kind of president would, they get involved with, shaking hands and kissing babies, as they say. You really need to do that. You need to hear from your constituents, right, on what their needs are and, and being able to incorporate that into your leadership and what you do. So I would say just make sure you pick one thing and just stick with that and lean on your team for support on all the other things that pop up.
Alicia and Nichole, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. It was great. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. We are coming to you now, fresh off of the SMPS conference in Atlanta. What is the full name of the conference?
Yeah. Amplify AEC.
Nice. Yep. Okay. We're here with our thoughts about the experience and just kind of talk about life in general here on the Play Hard section. As you know, the 312 podcast is divided into the Work Hard section, where you get to know what we do, the Play Hard section, where you get to know who you're talking to. We are once again joined by Nichole Petersen, Alicia Washington, Director of Marketing and JEDI here at HRP Associates, and of course myself, host Tom Simmons of the 312 podcast, as well as P3, the PFAS Pulse podcast. Subscribe to that if you aren't already. And how was the conference?
It was great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was it has been 3 years since the conference has been in person. Mm-hmm. It was virtual the last couple of years, so it was so many people were there just to see each other. Mm-hmm. It was really great. Atlanta was amazing. We had great hosts for the conference. Brandy and Danielle were there. It was an experience where people were really excited to see one another. Mm-hmm. And Amplify AEC is like a new brand to the conference. It used to be called Build Business for, 17 years or something. I think it's been like 18 years that the conference has been
honestly
going.
don't even know how long.
I feel like someone said that.
Forever.
Yeah. So the branding of the conference was awesome. We had a party at Coca-Cola, the museum Coca-Cola, which was right around the corner. Mm-hmm. It was a neon party, so everyone wore neon, and it was really fun. We had a good time. And what is that thing called that they had where you stand on it and it rotates and takes like the slow motion video?
They had that there?
They did. It was called like a glam bit or something like that.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it was so fun. So it's so funny to see the video of actually, and I have the video actually too, but to see like us doing stuff in slow motion, but it makes it seem like it was like crazy, just we were having so much fun.
Like a montage, like a video or music soundtrack or something.
I sent it to Lance. He was like, "Oh, you having fun." And I was like, sure.
Well, and speaking of fun, this is how they started off the conference, with a marching band, or not even a marching band. It was a drum line. It was a drum amazing. Line, yeah. And then they gave us these little towels that we were like whipping around and going to the drum line. But I feel like my biggest takeaway from the conference were the keynote speakers.
Yeah.
SMPS has what they call Max Talks, which is like their version of a TED Talks. And they brought in some really good presenters. Danielle Gray, who was also the host of the conference, like started off with her keynote. It was about being you and like not deflating yourself, but not inflating yourself, and kind of finding that happy medium. But like straight through to the end, there were just amazing presentations. And again, like Alicia said, we were all just so excited to see each other. And, we may have met people in the last couple of years, but it was virtually to actually like hug and touch people. So, and aside from the conference, the airport, I had a really good travel experience. I've been hearing nightmares, so that was a plus too.
Yeah, Nicole's right. Yeah, I was worried because so many people were like, "Oh, you're flying Delta," or and I'm just like, "Oh gosh, I hope it's not horrible." But being at the airport, I did notice that other people were having problems with their connecting flights.
Oh, okay. We had a direct, so that was probably why. But.
And so there was a lot of times where I'm like, do you have a connecting flight? Like I was just letting a lot of people go before me, and they were like, yes, please, I'm so sorry. People were asking to, even in the TSA line, can I go ahead of you? I mean, I just felt so bad for those people, and I just keep saying, I will pay
whatever amount of money to get a direct flight if I can. Like it just seems to be worth it at this point. We were actually talking about the overall, I was talking to a group of people at the conference about how we just noticed that airlines are they're overbooking, right? Or they're just putting flights out there that almost like the flight's not going to be able to happen. Like it won't happen. That flight is not going to happen, but they put it out there anyway. Or they let the flights overbook. Like, you don't have that many seats on the plane. Why are you? So it's like we're trying to figure out, like, can they really manage it? Or we know that there's like shortages in pilots and we know all of those things. But again, just like any job, if you only have 3 servers, you're only going to open 2 sections in the restaurant.
Right. They're setting themselves up for failure.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But no, it was fun.
Yeah, no, the conference was definitely good. And I have to talk about our meal that we had at, what was it,
South City Kitchen.
South City Kitchen.
Shout out.
Yes. It was a recommendation by the hosts. Anyways, so our waiter was he was one of those guys that just describes everything. And like my mouth was literally watering when he was talking about this fried chicken, and everything else sounded great too, but it didn't water like the fried chicken. Yeah. And I have this thing where I don't like to order the same thing as other people. Yeah. And both Alicia and the other woman, Lindsay, that we were with wanted the fried chicken. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And they're like, do it.
Just do
oh my
it.
God. It was so well worth it. Yeah. I ended up eating my leftovers later
Yeah.
that night in my hotel room.
That's perfect. That's what we were hoping that they would come in handy to eat that night.
Yeah, it was so good.
There were some late nights. Yep, we had the first day was great. We had we liked the little private parties, the private invitation parties that we were invited to. Those were fun. We went to like 2 of those. That was great.
Well, and like, not that it's cliquey. We were, since we're past leadership, they have different like suites and opportunities for you to network with other leaders. But it was fun. And the president, who's going to be outgoing, Bernice Bako, she had this amazing like penthouse with a full view of like the city part. We could see the Coca-Cola Center from her room. And it was fun. She had an after party there, and it was just a really cool experience. And just to meet the other leaders of, that organization is amazing.
Yeah, it was good. And there was a lot of workshops, a lot. They did, they had like 30-minute sessions, and then they did like 1.5 hour long sessions. One of the things I like too is that they actually repeated some of the sessions the next day.
Yeah, that was good.
And that was good because typically there's like 5 or 6 sessions happening at the same time, and you may want to go to like 2, but you have to pick which one. And so the fact that they were repeating it again the next day allowed you to go to the one that you kind of didn't go to that first day. Yeah. So that was really good. And Maisha Hagan, she did a workshop on like talent acquisition and kind of like the market that we're in, kind of like with the whole Great Resignation, but other things that have happened that kind of brought us to where we are in terms of how people work and what employees expect. And that one was an amazing one. She did a really good job and gave me a lot of ideas to bring to HR here. So I'm looking forward to updating our onboarding process with some of those tips.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So I would give the overall conference, it was a really great experience. And next year is the 50th. No.
Yeah.
Is it the 50th?
I think so, yeah.
Of the whole, not of the conference, but of the whole SMPS. So they're planning this really big party. And that's in Houston next year? Austin. I always get the 2 cities confused. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Austin, Texas, which is supposed to be an amazing city as well.
Yeah.
So
that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm crazy about fried chicken. Jumping back to that topic.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We have what is still for me the best fried chicken place I've ever been to, which is right in West Hartford called Bird Code.
Ooh, never been.
It's amazing. It's so good. Second to that is a place in like Spring, Texas, near where my friend and coworker Everett Anderson lives.
Okay.
It's called the BFC, and keeping this G-rated, I'll let you guess what that stands for. The BFC sandwich. That was fantastic, but we also have a thing here that we're getting started called Lunch Buddies, because we go out to eat all the time, and we want to kind of open up that experience to everybody here. And the guy I go with, our CFO, Joe Cardinale, we're the same way, where it's like we can't order the same thing. We got to have something
Okay,
else.
awesome. Yeah.
They're like, you don't have that? I'm going to try some of that.
Yeah.
Barter. All right, you get that. I'll get that.
Yeah.
We'll do halvesies.
Exactly.
That is good though, like to get different things and then we all kind of cut each other a piece of something and you get a taste of it all. Like, yes. But yeah, we all wanted the fried chicken.
Oh my God. But those fried green tomatoes were really good.
Oh, yeah.
It was like Southern cooking, but upscale. Like new twists, like modern twists on it. So the fried green tomatoes were stuffed with goat cheese and then had this romesco pepper sauce and then it was drizzled with olive oil. Oh my God, now my mouth's watering again. I gotta stop talking about this.
It was good. And it was like, so Lindsay, who was with us, doesn't really eat cheese. Like she'll kind of try.
She's crazy.
Like,
how do you not eat cheese?
My husband doesn't eat it either. So we never get appetizers because they always have cheese. So me and Nichole were like, well, we can. And she was just like, well, maybe I'll try it or whatever. So as me and Nichole are working through these tomatoes, there's like a half a piece left. And we're like, okay, like who's going to. Okay, no, I'll let her take it. Like in my mind, I'm like, I'll let Nichole have it. I had like a whole one, so
I know I'm a monster at the lunch table. I'll give one. Anybody want this? And if no one's going for it, I'm in there right away.
Yeah. You gotta ask. No, you're right. You just gotta be like, anybody. Okay, like we're not wasting.
But as someone's like, I'll take that. It's already.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
You snooze, you lose.
They're looking over there like, sorry, did you say something? They turn around. I'm on top of the table. For the next segment, what is everybody drinking?
Oh, okay. So I have Down East Blackberry unfiltered craft cider.
Love their stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot. That was a long title. There was a lot going on there, but it tastes really good. It really just tastes like apple cider, but it's a good craft cider because sometimes I feel like there's like, maybe because it's unfiltered, it really just tastes like apple cider. But some of them kind of have too much of an alcoholic taste. And it's like, I'm not really into like the sours of the world. Like some of them are good, but like I still like that beer kind of taste. But this is actually really good.
Definitely.
Nice. I am drinking Litchfield Distillery's gin.
Nice.
Yeah, it's delicious. And normally I'm a Bombay Sapphire girl. And the gentleman, Douglas, at Litchfield Distillery said, oh, you might not like our gin because we don't have those like, floral notes and blossomy flavors. Turns out I might not have really liked those after all because this is delicious. So shout out to Litchfield Distillery.
Nice.
And I will soon be drinking the same.
Oh, yes. Oh, and I have the cup of ice. Would you like some ice?
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to be a big chunk. Is that okay?
Oh, little audio texture.
Yep.
Creates a more immersive environment for the listener.
And I did have this on ice.
Yeah. Nice.
What was it going to be? Oh, it's going to...
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
How many finger of a pour?
Let's do 2 fingers.
Well, a little bit more.
A little more. Just
Flash
a
for
little
good
more.
luck.
For aesthetics.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Well, it's funny you say like you've been drinking gin. Like how long have you been drinking that? Like since you were like a long time?
No, I don't even know. So like I find that I go through like periods of phases in my life where I drink different stuff.
Yeah.
I want to say it was definitely before I was at Flowtech. I went to, I think, one of those rodeo shows at the casino. And for whatever reason, I was like, I'm going to try a gin martini and see what it's all about, type of thing. But it turns out it was a good idea, or maybe not a good idea if you ask my husband, but I love it. So it's like my, I like wedding cocktail or like that first cocktail at happy hour type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't drink it all the time, but I thought it was going to be easily to transport here. I have a little cooler bag. So.
Yeah. I've noticed that like over the years I've changed like you just like drink a certain brand because you're like, no, this is what I've been drinking forever until you try something new and you're like, oh wow, like you were saying like, oh, I thought I wouldn't like it, but it actually is really good. It's just we always just seem to like stick to the same thing, but I love these distilleries because they offer that opportunity, not just from the brewery side where it's mostly beer, you try different beers, but the distilleries do it too, where you can try like different, alcohols, different spirits.
Yeah, and he was a brand ambassador. He was so knowledgeable, and just listening to him, and then I was at a golf outing. There was a host or a server from the outing that was serving the drinks as well, and she was describing them, and I'm just like, wow, you guys know, and like you just get so impressed with how well they know the product.
Yep.
And then you're like, you feel like you can know like, oh, I'm going to like that or that's not for me. And just learning about the whole distilling process. Like I had no idea the difference between like, 5-year, a 4-year, and then there's like the port whiskey is in port barrels, and it's when whiskey goes into the barrel, it's clear like vodka or gin. It gets its color from the barrel, I had no idea. It was just really cool learning about it all. So,
do you like bourbon?
So I like the taste of it, but I always get heartburn, so I don't really drink it. Like I'll maybe do it in a mixed drink, but it's not my go-to, which is funny because the rest of my family will like,
take it down.
Oh yeah.
How about you, Tom?
I never touched hard liquor for a long time, but it's a favorite of the senior leadership here, so I would get to try it every now and then, and we have an excellent distillery right next to our New York office. So shout out to Yankee Distillery up there. You guys are fantastic.
You guys are fantastic.
I love going up there and trying it. It's a highlight of any trip I go up to the New York office. Luckily,
I'll go.
Yes.
Raise your hand.
I'll go. Who wants to carpool?
No, they're excellent. So it's right next door to our office. And one time, so every payday, the New York office does what they call payday barbecue. So someone from
cute.
there,
I like that.
Yeah. So it's pretty. I think it's Mark Wright most of the time that's actually doing the grill, but if it's other people too, but others in the office will like bring like a side dish or something and just like really barbecue and chill like right outside. So I was there one payday barbecue and I went outside and we're all eating, and here comes someone from the distillery with a tray.
Ooh.
Okay. They had 2 different kinds of drinks, like mixed drinks, like cocktails. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Yeah. They had like an apple cider kind of one with the bourbon, and then they had like a lemon one with vodka. I was like,
good.
They were delicious. Yeah, their stuff is really
watering.
Good. I know. And it was so good. And just, it's in like the mason jar kind of cup. It has like the apple and the cinnamon. I mean, they did it all up, and it was just for free. Like they didn't charge us for it or anything, it's just we have that relationship with them, but it was delicious. So the regional manager, Jesse, he has sent down some bottles for the Washington House for some holidays. We appreciate you, Jesse. Thank you very much. But yeah, their distillery it's amazing. It's nice to work right next to it.
He does prank me though. I don't think he means it intentionally.
Who?
Jesse.
How does he prank you?
Because he's like, Alicia's husband Lance loves this one.
Oh yeah.
It's his favorite. You should pick up a bottle for them.
And it's like not his
It's not the right one.
No, but that wasn't a prank. It was, I think he just always thought that Lance liked the vodka. I like the vodka. And so Lance likes the bourbon. Yeah. Because he's gotten bourbon for us. He actually got like a box and it came with 2 glasses or like 1 glass.
Oh, that's nice.
He just got it mixed up. So he always does that. It's so funny. So one of the other highlights of the national conference, the SMPS conference, was that the president of the year receives their award. And so we were talking about like submitting that application. Nichole had won that last year, right? It was last year, right?
Last year.
But because of the pandemic, she couldn't walk up on stage, and get that, which was sad. But this year, because she actually tied with another president. It was like the first time ever that's happened. So her and the other president, it was, what's her last?
Kat sorry, I always butcher it. DiMercutio.
Yes. So, and she was in New York, the New York chapter president. So they both won. So they actually went up there and were able to present to the president who won this year. So you want to tell us more about that, Nichole?
Sure. So it was a really fun experience. As the past winner, Kat and I, we were both a part of the whole program this year for the chapter president of the year. So we helped giving webinars and, reaching out to past presidents to encourage them to submit and that sort of thing. So we also got to present this year's winner, who was Jen McGovern. She was from the Washington, D.C. chapter. We got to present her the award. And we got to go on stage, read from a teleprompter. But the best part, I was joking around because this was the first session of the last morning after the Coca-Cola party. And Kat and I were like, are you serious? Like you better at least give me makeup. And I was just joking. And they're like, we have makeup. And we're like, what? Yeah. So it was all worth it waiting the year. And we felt great. And it was just a great experience to be able to pass the torch, so to speak, and just extend the acknowledgement of how awesome these chapter leaders are and how much you do and you dedicate to not only the organization, but your states and your chapters as a whole. So it was really cool. And she had a phenomenal acceptance speech, I felt.
Yeah,
and
it was good.
Yeah, and it's great because I actually have a connection with her. She wasn't just some random person I never met before.
Yeah.
Her and I both serve on SMPS's Northeast Regional Conference Board. So it's like the NERC board. So we help oversee just how that conference goes and everything. It's a new position, but it was nice that I had already kind of had a relationship with her to be able to hand that down to her. So that was really cool.
Yeah. And she actually did a workshop at the conference too that everyone said was amazing. She has a great personality, and it was really cute. After her speech, she went to walk off, and she walked off without the award. And it's just like, of course she would do that, just such a humble person. So like she actually came up, was like, let me get my award. It was so cute. But yeah, no, we're really happy for her, and she deserved it.
Yeah, she definitely did. On a side note, those awards are so heavy. You know how when you see like in soap opera, someone like grabs the award and like the person's like dead. I'm like, this award, like you better watch out. Don't mess with me in my office.
Yeah, everyone held it with two hands.
I have a weapon in my office, everybody.
Uh-huh.
It's crazy. But she was like, how am I going to fit this on the plane? I'm like, oh, they'll ship that for you. Like there's a special box that it comes in and everything. So, but that was definitely like one of the highlights for me. I was really excited about that. So.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. It actually worked out though last year. I would have loved to have been in person accepting the award, but I had just delivered a baby. I was like a week out of having my son Theo. So I wouldn't have been able to go to the conference and accept it anyway. So it kind of was like I wasn't missing out on anything because it didn't happen. Well, I always tried to find the silver lining, right?
But you still had your moment of just being up there.
It was amazing. And just to see the behind the scenes of what goes on. So like as an attendee, you take everything that you see for granted. There's lights, there's cameras, there's music, and then I was actually up on the stage looking around, just like coming to this podcast. I had no idea all of this is a part of it. And, Molly, the woman that was a part of the program director, she's got the headset on. She's all around. They're like doing the teleprompter. So that alone was really cool to see because you know that stuff goes on, but just to really see that the speakers coming in, mic check. So it was like even more of an experience just to see the back end of how that whole thing comes together.
There's a lot. And SMPS headquarters, shout out to y'all. Y'all do a great job.
Yes.
Like they really do with everything. Even I presented at CLS, which is every April. And that is the chapter leader symposium. So if you're going to be a president, or even now if you're running the programs committee for any of the chapters, you get invited to CLS. And it's free. It's free for people to attend that, right? I think you pay for your hotel, but like there isn't a registration for that.
I think the presidents are covered. I'm not sure if the programs committee or if the chapter. I think the chapter might pay for the programs committee portion. Yes. But I definitely know the incoming president portion I think is covered.
Yeah, yes. It's covered. Yeah. And so even with that, just the way that they put it on and it's just so organized and that's such a smaller group too, where it's just you get a lot of energy out of everybody, and everyone's like super inspired, and they have great speakers too. It's just it was really a great experience going to CLS too. But yeah, actually going back to some of the takeaways from the conference, the keynotes were amazing. Very and Max Talks is like TED Talks. It's kind of like that same idea where the topic is very personal a lot of the time, and very inspirational. So
also universal. Like you didn't have to be an AEC to take away from these keynotes, and that's why I thought they still relate it, but it wasn't like anybody could enjoy them.
Yeah, they're all tearjerkers too every time. Like I always was like, okay, like let's not mess up the makeup, but. Yeah, it was Danielle Gray talking about just being yourself. And then you had, what was her name? Kay. She did the conversation about mental health. And then lastly was, I think, Melvin.
Yes, I forget his last name, but that was probably my favorite one.
Yeah, and that was about, he wrote a book, Dear White Friend. And so his topic, his conversation was about, having that constructive discussion about racism. Then it was so good because he really, in his book, and we all got the book for free.
Yeah,
nice.
We walked out and like I was ready. I mean, some people already ordered the book on Amazon while he was talking. Yeah. And you walk out and they're just handing it out. I'm like, it's free. I wanted to take 2 so bad, but I'm like, no, I want to buy. I want to, support.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was such a good talk about how, it's important to come from a place of empathy and understanding when you're having a conversation about race or racism. It was he was awesome. It was a very good talk. So yeah, they're great talks and they happen at every conference. Now.
They do. And just going back to that talk a little bit, like he was able, I feel like it was such a fresh experience for me because this has obviously been in the forefront and we needed to be in the forefront, but I haven't really heard someone speak about the topic in the way that he did, where he was able to add humility, humor. He was like calming everybody down about it without like saying, we need to be calm, but like he just made it so it was more of an open dialogue and like, okay, it's okay to not be right, but like I want you to still talk about it with me type of thing. And I haven't gotten to dive into the book yet, but I feel like each chapter is a letter to a white friend, and it just kind of saying where he was coming from, and just to kind of put this whole history into play. And like, okay, our history is great and we can celebrate that, but our history is also not that great and we need to look at that. So he was saying you can do both at the same time. So I thought it was great. And the whole conference was, well put together, I think. It's one thing though, I have to say, it was so funny. They have this column, and it's like you put sticky notes on for like ideas for the next year's conference. And there in bold big letters is "Feed us." And I think it's not like they didn't give us, there was lunches and stuff included, and we're not talking about meals, but like we're like, oh, little like bags of chips or granolas. And they did have some stuff. I think we missed it. It was like on the bottom floor.
It was on another level.
But it was just so funny in capital letters, "Feed us."
And it was true though, because like the schedule was like jam packed. It really was. And like everything, like all the workshops, the main stage, it was all on the same level. But the food and coffee and everything was on the bottom level. So, when you're going in between workshops and stuff, like you got to take 2 escalators all the way down to get to the coffee. Or even if you want to run out real quick, like typically coffee is like in the room or outside the room.
Right.
Yeah.
So, not having that as close as we typically are used to was, I think that's what that brought on, that little post-it note.
And I think like part of it was, I think they were trying to spread us out for COVID and all that. But then it's like we're jam-packed in the main stage. So I don't know, but it was just funny, the whole "Feed us." Because to your point, if you're running, you have 15 minutes in between sessions, you have to go to the bathroom, you have to answer a phone call, do an email, network, you can't make it down there and back to the beginning of it. So that was just, whoever wrote that, I think I know who, but I'm not going to say any names. It's hilarious. No one in this room.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it feels like I was there in spirit, because that'd be my post-it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I know, after all of our talk of fried chicken. Right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Did we get dessert? Did we get dessert for dinner?
No.
But
it worked out because the Coca-Cola party, that whole spread was like brownies and fruit and like these cool chips from New Orleans. They were like, there was these voodoo chips, and like I was like, oh, what am I getting myself into? But they were like, I can't even describe what they taste like, but they weren't like anything like crazy, but they were delicious.
Yeah. Oh, we got coffee. That's what we got. We got cappuccino, and
I
you got
Irish
your
coffee.
Irish coffee. Yeah.
That's a way to kickstart your night.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that'll wrap it up for us here. Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of 312. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you are listening to us still, make sure to get over to the YouTube channel and watch this section. If not, make sure to leave a 5-star review down there. It really helps us out. Thank you so much again for joining us, Nichole. Thank you so much for being our guest
Thanks
today.
For having me.
Again, it's been great having
so much
you.
Fun.
Thank you for the gin.
You're
And
welcome.
we will see all of you later. Stay safe out there, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.